You're losing everything, they say, but I see you shedding what's not meant for you, making space for something greater. It feels like the end, but what if it's actually the beginning of something that will leave them speechless? Everyone says you're losing control, but maybe this loss is exactly what you needed to reclaim your true power. They think you're falling apart, but in the cracks, there's a light shining through, waiting to guide you. You're losing grip, but it's only when we lose our grip that we discover what we're truly capable of. Everyone's predicting your failure, but failure is just a chapter in the story of your success. Stay with me. They see you as losing it, but what if you're not losing anything at all? Just shedding the old version of yourself. The world is waiting for you to fall, but you're about to rise and show them what strength really looks like. You're losing everything, they say, but you're actually gaining clarity, strength, and an unwavering sense of self. They think you're about to break, but sometimes we have to break to let the light in. You feel like you're slipping, but you're actually shifting into the person you've always been meant to be. They tell you it's over, but what if it's only just beginning? What if you're on the verge of your greatest victory? You might feel like everything is crumbling, but sometimes things have to crumble before they can be rebuilt stronger. Everyone's watching as you teeter on the edge, but what they don't see is that you're about to take flight. It feels like you're losing control, but in reality, you're taking the reins of your own destiny. They think you're about to fall, but what if you're about to soar higher than ever before? Everyone says you're going off the rails, but maybe the rails are what's been holding you back from true freedom. It feels like you're spiraling, but in that spiral, you're discovering just how strong you really are. They tell you it's over, but it's in the darkest moments that we find the brightest light. They say you're done for, but sometimes it's in the darkest night that we find the brightest stars. Everyone says you're falling apart, but what if you're actually coming together in a way you never thought possible? It feels like everything's slipping away, but maybe it's all just falling into place. Trust the process. They say you're losing it, but what if you're actually shedding the weight that's been holding you down? Everyone's watching, waiting for you to break, but what if you're about to show them the strength you've always had? The world is telling you to quit, but inside you, there's a fire burning brighter than ever. They say you're about to crash, but sometimes it's the crashes that lead to the most powerful rebirths. You feel the pressure, the tension, but it's in these moments that your true power begins to rise. They think you're about to lose everything, but you're actually gaining the very thing you've been searching for. The world's telling you to stop, but what if this is just the moment before everything falls into place? They think you're broken, But what if you're just being reassembled into something unbreakable? It feels like you're losing control. But what if you're actually stepping into your true power? Everyone says you're about to fall apart, but you're only unraveling to become something stronger than you've ever been. You feel like you're losing grip, but in reality, you're just getting closer to what you've been waiting for. They say you're headed for disaster, but maybe you're just paving the way for something amazing. You're feeling lost, but sometimes it's in the unknown that we find our greatest strength. Everyone says you're on the edge, but what if you're standing right before a breakthrough? They say you're out of control, but maybe it's in that chaos that you're finding your true freedom. It feels like you're falling, but in reality, you're learning to fly. Stay with me. They think you're on your way down, but sometimes the biggest rise comes after the hardest fall. It feels like you're losing everything, but maybe you're only making room for what truly matters. Everyone says you're spiraling, but maybe that spiral is exactly what's leading you to your destiny. You hear the whispers. They think you're falling apart, but in truth, you're about to come back stronger than ever. They say you're at your breaking point, but what if that breaking point is where you find your true strength? The world thinks you're losing, but maybe you're just setting the stage for your greatest win. They see you faltering, but what if this is just the calm before the storm, your storm of success? Everyone's telling you that you're losing control, but in your heart, you feel the power building. Stay with me. This is won't the beginning. The world might be pulling you down, telling you that you're spiraling, but what if this is exactly where you're meant to be? You're on the edge, and the voices around you are growing louder. But what if that's the sign that you're closer to something extraordinary? They say you're headed for disaster, but could the truth be that you're simply breaking free from the chains? Let's dive into this together. Everyone's waiting for you to break. But here's the thing. You're only becoming who you're meant to be. It's like you're walking tightrope, and every step feels like it might be your last. But what if this is the moment you discover your wings? They said it was over for you, that you were losing your grip, but I see something completely different. Let's talk about what's really happening. You're spiraling, or maybe, just maybe, you're starting to understand that chaos is the pathway to something greater. The noise of the world is deafening, but in the quiet, there's a truth waiting for you. You have to hear it right now. It feels like everything's slipping away, but what if it's all just falling into place, exactly as it should? They've labeled you as out of control, but what if that's exactly how you're supposed to feel? Let's uncover this together. Everyone's waiting for you to fall apart, but inside, you're stronger than they've ever known. You hear the whispers. They think you're failing, but in reality, you're just about to rise in a way they've never seen before. They say you're losing everything, but maybe you're just shedding what no longer serves you. Keep watching. There's a twist ahead. It feels like you're running out of time, but every second is leading you closer to the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Everyone's watching as you teeter on the edge, but deep down, you know this is the moment where everything changes. You feel the weight of their words, but remember, it's often the loudest storms that lead to the most beautiful transformations. Everyone says you've lost control, but what if that loss is actually the key to your freedom? The world is shouting that you're making a mistake, but what if you're on the verge of a breakthrough they can't even imagine? You feel like you're losing grip, but I'm telling you, it's in the moments of slipping that we find our true strength. They say you're headed for disaster, but in reality, you're forging a path that will lead to everything you've ever wanted. They think you've lost your way, but you're just about to discover the power of letting go. Trust me. Everything's unraveling, but it's only through unraveling that we can discover the truth buried beneath. You might be feeling like you're losing everything, but maybe you're actually losing what was never meant to be yours. They're telling you to turn back, but what if the road ahead holds something incredible, something unimaginable? The world says you're spiraling, but in the chaos, there's a hidden clarity that only you can see. It feels like you're slipping away, but in reality, you're shifting into a new version of yourself, one that's unstoppable. Everyone thinks you're lost, but what if you're actually finding your true direction in the very moment they doubt you? They believe you're going off the rails, but I see you moving closer to the life you were destined to live. It feels like you're losing control, but maybe you're actually gaining the freedom you've always longed for. They say you're running out of time, but what if time is actually on your side? What if you're about to witness the magic of transformation? You're hearing all the voices telling you it's over, but those voices don't know the strength you're about to unleash. It feels like you're losing your grip, but in truth, you're letting go of what's been holding you back. They think you're making a mistake, but what if this mistake is the spark for your most powerful change? Everyone says you're out of control, but in your chaos, there's a kind of freedom they've never understood. You feel the pressure building, but what if that pressure is the heat that forges your greatest self? They say you're falling apart, but sometimes we need to fall apart to find out who we really are. You might feel like you're crumbling, but sometimes it's in the collapse that we finally find our strength. The world's watching you falter, but what if this is the moment you stand up stronger than ever before? Everyone says you're going to crash, but I see you soaring higher than they can even imagine. The world tells you to give up, but you know that it's only when we're at our lowest that we can rise the highest.